There is one hormone that almost no man takes seriously enough, which literally determines how much energy you have, how much testosterone your body produces, and how fast you visibly age. It is not testosterone itself, it is cortisol. And the reason it matters more than almost anything else in your hormonal health is that cortisol and testosterone share the same raw materials. And when cortisol wins, testosterone loses. Here is what actually happens when cortisol stays chronically elevated. Your body is running a stress response. In that state, it prioritizes immediate survival over every long-term function. Muscle building, testosterone production, fat burning, sleep quality, recovery, all of it gets deprioritized. The body is allocating resources to handle a threat, and in modern life, that threat never fully turns off. Cortisol rises, growth hormone falls. These two hormones exist in opposition. Growth hormone is the anti-aging hormone. It activates during sleep, drives fat burning, and counterbalances the destructive effect cortisol has on tissue. After the age of 50, growth hormone bottoms out in most men. And when growth hormone drops, cortisol has nothing pushing back against it. It naturally goes higher, unopposed. The downstream consequences are visible and measurable. Belly fat accumulates because cortisol drives fat storage, specifically around the abdomen. Testosterone drops because the hormonal environment is tilted away from production. Sleep quality deteriorates because cortisol and restful sleep cannot coexist. The face changes because the musculature is not being rebuilt. The energy disappears because the adrenals are constantly being asked to produce a hormone they were never designed to run on continuously. And the man experiencing all of this assumes it's just age. He assumes it is just stress that will pass. He assumes it is something he cannot control. None of that is true. Men who have deliberately reduced their cortisol baseline consistently report the same thing happening in reverse. Energy returning, sleep deepening, testosterone rising, fat redistribution, the feeling of actually recovering from training rather than just accumulating fatigue. These outcomes are documented. The mechanisms are well understood. The inputs required are specific and actionable. So here is exactly how to lower cortisol and rebuild the hormonal environment that allows everything else to function properly. Starting with the most important and working through in order. The reason most men have chronically elevated cortisol is that the modern environment was not designed for hormonal health. It was designed for productivity, convenience, and constant stimulation. We eat across 14 to 16 hours of the day, grazing on snacks between meals, which keeps insulin elevated and never triggers the IGF response that opposes cortisol. We sit under artificial light past 10 p.m., which suppresses melatonin and disrupts the circadian rhythm that governs when cortisol rises and falls. We surround ourselves with people and environments that generate chronic low-grade stress. We exercise in ways that spike cortisol rather than lower it. Look at men who have genuinely thrived physically into their 40s and 50s. The common thread is not more willpower. It is a lifestyle structured in a way that keeps cortisol in check. And that structure is reproducible. The single most powerful lever for lowering cortisol is sleep. Specifically because sleep is when growth hormone is produced. More growth hormone means less cortisol. They exist in inverse proportion. Every hour of sleep loss has been shown to decrease testosterone by approximately 6 points. Men sleeping 5 hours per night show 10 to 15% lower testosterone than men sleeping 8 or more. And the cortisol elevation from poor sleep is cumulative. It builds day over day. The target is lights out by 10 p.m. This is not arbitrary. Testosterone and growth hormone production peak during the early overnight window. Cut the window and you cut the output. Alright, here are some practical steps to actually get there. Room temperature between 16 and 19 degrees Celsius. Completely dark. No caffeine within 8 hours of sleep. And for men with untreated sleep apnea, addressing it with a CPAP has been shown to increase testosterone by 90 to 100 points in some studies. Sleep apnea and low testosterone are directly linked. Alright, before getting into the nutritional side and the Eastern protocols that complete this system, if you want this structured as a full program rather than scattered information from separate videos, One Man Mastery covers all of it. Eastern TCM and Western hormone science combined in one place, phase by phase. The link is in the description. Now, here is the nutritional layer. One of the most overlooked cortisol drivers is eating too frequently. When you graze throughout the day and never allow a gap between meals, the body never triggers IGF, insulin-like growth factor. IGF is the liver's version of growth hormone. It regulates blood sugar between meals, drives fat burning, and works in direct opposition to cortisol. If you're eating across 14 to 16 hours of the day, you're suppressing the hormonal response that would otherwise be pushing cortisol down. The shift here is straightforward: 2 to 3 meals per day. No grazing, allow the gap. This simple change allows IGF to activate, which supports growth hormone, which lowers cortisol. Most men never make this change because snacking feels harmless. Hormonally, it is not. On specific nutrients, potassium is one of the most underappreciated cortisol regulators. The body needs approximately 4,700 milligrams per day. Potassium supports the parasympathetic nervous system, the recovery system that directly opposes the stress response. Most men are chronically low in potassium and do not know it. Leafy greens, avocados, potatoes, bananas, 7 to 10 cups of vegetables daily gets you there. Vitamin B1 has a direct relationship with the adrenal stress response. The natural source is nutritional yeast. A tablespoon in plain kefir mixed with food or eaten on its own daily covers this, not synthetic B vitamins. Nutritional yeast specifically. Vitamin D works synergistically with sleep to lower cortisol. If you're getting 15 to 20 minutes of morning sunlight daily, you're likely covered. On cloudy days or in low sun climates, supplement with D3 at 10,000 IU paired with vitamin K2 to balance the intake correctly. Calcium before sleep helps the body transition into deep recovery. Calcium citrate or calcium lactate, not calcium carbonate, which is poorly absorbed and counterproductive. A small amount before bed supports the shift into deep sleep, which is where the growth hormone work happens. Walking is more effective than any other form of exercise for lowering cortisol. This is not an opinion. The research consistently shows that long, deliberate, low-intensity walking is therapeutically calming to the nervous system in a way that intense training cannot replicate. 20 to 30 minutes per day outside, sunlight and walking together are one of the most potent cortisol-lowering combinations available to any man. Sunlight specifically is not just about vitamin D. Sun exposure has a direct calming effect on the nervous system. It lowers cortisol measurably. Men who consistently get morning sun report better sleep, lower baseline stress, and more stable mood across the day. This is documented. And then there is the eastern layer, what traditional Chinese medicine describes as adrenal depletion. The exhaustion of what it calls kidney yang energy maps precisely onto what Western medicine measures as chronically elevated cortisol. The herbs used to support recovery in TCM work through the adrenal and HPG axis. Ashwagandha has been shown in clinical trials to significantly reduce cortisol levels. It is an adaptogen. It works on a system that is generating too much stress hormone, not just on one symptom of that system. 300 milligrams twice daily for 8 weeks consistently shows both cortisol reduction and testosterone improvement in the same studies. East meets West, both pointing at the same root. The final layer most people skip entirely. Cortisol is generated by environment as much as by biology. Chronically stressful relationships, work environments with constant pressure, commutes over an hour, multiple simultaneous stresses, all of these produce a measurable hormonal response. Studies comparing men in high-stress work environments to men in lower-stress roles found consistently lower testosterone and higher cortisol in the stressed group, regardless of age or fitness level. You cannot supplement your way out of a chronically toxic environment. You can optimize sleep, diet, and training perfectly and still run elevated cortisol if the environment you live and work in is continuously generating the stress response. Reducing this is not soft advice. It is a direct hormonal intervention. This can be addressed at any age. The adrenal system responds to correct input regardless of how long the pattern has been running. Men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who have systematically lowered cortisol through these methods report the same reversal. Sleep deepens, energy returns, testosterone rises, the body's ability to recover and rebuild comes back online. The fascia can always be loosened. The hormonal environment can always be improved. You can always take action. Men who have gone through this process consistently report the same thing. The chronic fatigue that they assumed was permanent begins to live. The belly fat that will not move despite training starts to respond. The testosterone that had quietly declined starts to recover because the root cause was cortisol all along and nobody had connected it clearly for them. Okay, if you want the complete structured system covering foundation, training, hormones, the look, and identity with Eastern TCM protocols and Western hormone science mapped out step by step, that is One Man Mastery. The link is in the description. Come in, get the full picture, and start implementing it properly. Feel better, look better. That is where it starts.